Distinguished English language learners, a warm welcome to you. Noor extends sincere gratitude for your presence here today. Whether you are engaging with this material during your commute, culinary activities, moments of relaxation, or any other pursuit, your participation in this podcast is deeply appreciated. Noor is genuinely enthusiastic about supporting you throughout your English language acquisition journey. In this session, we will address a significant challenge encountered by numerous English learners: the comprehension of native English speakers. It is acknowledged that this can be particularly demanding when native speakers exhibit rapid speech patterns, employ colloquialisms, or articulate themselves in potentially perplexing manners. You might find yourself contemplating the underlying reasons for this difficulty, or seeking strategies to effectively follow their conversational flow. Rest assured, dear learners, you are not alone in this experience. Many individuals navigating the complexities of English acquisition share similar sentiments. However, it is crucial to recognize that your capacity to understand native speakers is indeed cultivable and can be significantly enhanced. Within this episode, Noor aims to provide a structured, step-by-step guide. We will systematically deconstruct the challenges involved and present a suite of potent techniques designed to facilitate your comprehension of native English speakers and foster greater confidence in your English listening proficiencies. Let us commence. Initially, it is pertinent to examine the factors that contribute to the difficulty in understanding native speakers. While a robust vocabulary and a firm grasp of grammatical structures are foundational, they do not constitute the entirety of the comprehension equation. The understanding of spoken English, particularly as articulated by native speakers, presents unique challenges stemming from elements such as speech tempo, regional accents, informal language, slang, and the phenomenon of connected speech. Should these terms appear nebulous at present, be assured that each will be elucidated in due course. Have you ever engaged in a dialogue with a native English speaker, only to feel utterly disoriented? While you might have discerned isolated words, the overarching meaning may have remained elusive. This is a prevalent experience among English learners, arising from several key factors. Firstly, native speakers frequently exhibit rapid speech delivery and do not always adhere to meticulous enunciation. They may coalesce words, elide sounds, or employ contractions, e.g., I'm, for, I am, all of which can impede comprehension. For instance, the common reductions of going to gonna, and want to wanna, in natural speech often diverge significantly from the more formal pronunciations typically encountered in instructional materials. Secondly, the diverse array of accents and dialects within the English-speaking world can further complicate comprehension. English is a globally spoken language, with each geographical region possessing its distinct linguistic nuances. Whether encountering an American, British, Australian, or any other accent, each carries its own characteristic phonetics, pronunciation patterns, and rhythmic cadence. When exposed to an accent that deviates from your accustomed auditory input, it can feel akin to encountering a different language altogether, despite the underlying linguistic unity. Another significant impediment to understanding native speakers lies in their frequent use of slang and informal language. These colloquialisms and idiomatic expressions are pervasive in everyday conversations, yet are often absent from traditional English language curricula. For example, the inquiry, "What's up?" is not a literal request for meteorological information, but rather a casual greeting akin to "hello" or "how are you?" Familiarity with these informal expressions is crucial for effective engagement with native speakers. Finally, the linguistic phenomenon of connected speech poses a considerable challenge. This occurs when words within a sentence are pronounced in close proximity, blurring their individual boundaries. For example, the phrase, "I'm going to go," may be articulated as, "I'm gonna go," with the constituent words seamlessly linked. A lack of familiarity with this aspect of spoken English can render rapid speech particularly difficult to parse. However, it is essential to understand that these linguistic behaviors are entirely normal. Native speakers do not consistently adhere to formal enunciation. With dedicated practice, your ability to comprehend them will undoubtedly improve. This is a gradual process, yet it is an entirely attainable goal. In the subsequent segments of this episode, we will delve into a series of practical tips and techniques designed to bolster your comprehension skills. Tip 1. Engage with authentic conversations. One of the most efficacious methods for enhancing your understanding of native speakers is to immerse yourself in genuine, unscripted dialogue. This entails listening to individuals communicating naturally, as opposed to contrived or deliberately slow recordings. Why is this crucial? Because native speakers do not converse in the manner of textbook audio. Their speech is characterized by speed, the incorporation of slang, and the seamless connection of words in ways that may initially be unfamiliar. To implement this, begin by listening to English language podcasts or YouTube videos. Select topics that align with your personal interests. Regardless of whether the subject matter pertains to sports or culinary arts, consistent exposure to natural conversational patterns will progressively refine your ability to discern how native speakers articulate themselves. A crucial piece of advice here is to avoid fixating on the comprehension of every single word. Instead, concentrate on grasping the overarching meaning of the conversation. The primary objective is to acclimate your auditory processing to the tempo and rhythm of natural speech. If an individual word remains elusive, do not be discouraged. Continue listening and endeavor to identify the central theme. Furthermore, do not hesitate to rewind and re-listen to segments. It is entirely normal to require multiple exposures to fully process spoken information. Over time, your cognitive system will begin to attune itself to the phonetic patterns and structural nuances of spoken English, leading to enhanced comprehension. Tip 2. Cultivate familiarity with diverse accents. As Noor previously highlighted, the English language encompasses a multitude of accents, each possessing its unique phonetic characteristics and rhythmic flow. The articulation patterns prevalent in London differ from those in New York or Sydney. If you encounter difficulty understanding a specific accent, targeted practice with that particular accent is essential. If your interactions are likely to involve individuals from a specific geographical region, such as the United States or the United Kingdom, prioritize listening to that accent. For instance, you could engage with television programs or films featuring characters from the target region, or listen to podcasts hosted by speakers from that area. Increased exposure to a particular accent will progressively facilitate its comprehension. It is important to reiterate that initial challenges are to be expected. Consistent practice will gradually render the process more intuitive. Tip 3. Focus on semantic kernels, keywords. While native speakers often exhibit rapid speech, it is important not to be overwhelmed by the potential for missing individual words. Effective comprehension hinges on identifying pivotal words within a sentence. Native speakers frequently omit grammatical function words such as is, are, or the, or they may contract them in informal contexts. While these words are grammatically significant, they often do not fundamentally alter the core meaning of the utterance. Rather than striving to decipher every word, direct your attention to the content-bearing words. These typically include nouns, denoting entities or individuals, verbs, expressing actions, and adjectives describing attributes. Consider the sentence, "I'm going to the store to buy some groceries." The essential semantic information is conveyed by store, buy, and groceries. The grammatical particles to and some are less critical for initial comprehension of the central action. You can practice this by listening to conversations and actively attempting to isolate the most semantically significant words. Subsequently, endeavor to summarize the gist of the conversation in your own words. This technique will prove invaluable in enhancing your comprehension of native speakers, particularly when they speak rapidly or employ unfamiliar vocabulary. Tip 4. Leverage the utility of subtitles. When engaging with films, television programs, or YouTube videos, utilize subtitles as a comprehension aid. Subtitles are particularly beneficial as they provide a visual representation of the spoken words, facilitating the association between auditory and textual input. This is an effective strategy for concurrently improving both your listening and reading proficiencies. A recommended approach is to initially employ subtitles in your native language if additional support is required. As your comfort level increases, transition to English subtitles. This will allow you to observe the precise English words being uttered and familiarize yourself with their pronunciation. Ultimately, challenge yourself by watching without subtitles altogether. This will necessitate a greater focus on auditory comprehension without visual cues. It is important to acknowledge that subtitles are not always flawless. Discrepancies may arise between the spoken dialogue and the written text, particularly with regard to slang or informal language. However, continue to listen actively, using subtitles as a guide rather than an absolute reference. Over time, you will find yourself relying less on them and comprehending more through auditory processing alone. Tip 5. Segmenting speech into manageable units. When listening to a native speaker, the continuous flow of speech in lengthy sentences can feel overwhelming. However, native speakers naturally tend to segment their speech into smaller, more digestible units, particularly during conversations where pauses occur between ideas or phrases. To enhance your comprehension, practice identifying these natural pauses. Consider the sentence, "I went to the store, and then I saw my friend, and we decided to grab some coffee." Natural breaks occur after store, friend, and coffee. These inherent pauses in speech can significantly facilitate comprehension. Practice by listening to short conversations and pausing the audio after each discernible segment. Attempt to understand the meaning of each segment before proceeding. This approach allows you to process information in smaller increments, thereby easing the cognitive load associated with rapid speech. Tip 6. The technique of shadowing. Let us now explore a technique known as shadowing. Shadowing involves listening to a native speaker and immediately repeating their utterances, striving to replicate their speed, rhythm, and pronunciation as accurately as possible. It is akin to acting as their echo, mirroring their every spoken word. This is a potent technique, as it simultaneously trains both your auditory perception and your articulatory mechanisms. By actively listening to and repeating the sentences you hear, you will develop a more intuitive understanding of native speaker articulation. Furthermore, it will enhance your own pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation, all of which are crucial for effective comprehension of spoken English. To initiate shadowing practice, select a brief video or audio clip featuring natural, spontaneous speech. Listen to a sentence or two, then pause and repeat precisely what you have heard. Endeavor to emulate the speaker's pronunciation of each word, paying close attention to their vocal tone and the emphasis they place on particular words. This will contribute to a more natural spoken delivery and facilitate your comprehension of others who speak in a similar manner. Do not be discouraged if you find it challenging to keep pace initially. Shadowing requires consistent practice, and it is perfectly acceptable if your initial attempts are not entirely accurate. Persevere, and over time, your comprehension of native speakers will demonstrably improve. Tip 7. Deliberate exposure to diverse accents. As Nora previously indicated, the variety of English accents can pose a barrier to comprehension. However, this should not lead to avoidance. In fact, increased exposure to a wider spectrum of accents will enhance your overall ability to understand a diverse range of English speakers. Begin by actively listening to accents from various geographical regions and countries, such as British, American, Australian, and even African English accents. Each accent possesses its unique phonetic landscape and characteristic pronunciations. By engaging in deliberate practice with different accents, you will train your auditory system to process English spoken in a multitude of ways. If you are unsure where to commence, consider engaging with television programs or films originating from different English-speaking countries. For example, you might watch a British film, followed by an American one, and then an Australian production. Pay close attention to the characters' speech patterns and attempt to discern any variations in their pronunciation. With consistent exposure, you will find it increasingly easier to comprehend individuals from different parts of the world. Tip 8. Strategic use of playback speed adjustment. If you find yourself struggling to keep up with the rapid pace of native speakers, there is no detriment in employing the feature of playback speed reduction. Many podcasts, YouTube videos, and audiobooks offer the functionality to adjust the audio speed. Initiate your listening at a reduced speed, and as your comfort level grows, gradually increase the tempo. By slowing down the audio, you will be able to discern more individual words and gain a clearer understanding of the speaker's intonation and rhythm. Once you feel confident at a slower pace, incrementally increase the speed. This gradual progression will better equip you to comprehend faster native speech in the future. Tip 9. The importance of seeking clarification. Finally, remember that it is entirely acceptable to request clarification if you do not understand something. Native speakers are generally understanding and will readily repeat or rephrase their statements. Do not feel embarrassed by a lack of comprehension. It is a universal experience in language learning. If you miss something during a conversation, simply ask, "Sorry, could you say that again?" Or, "I didn't quite understand. Could you explain it differently?" Most individuals will appreciate your proactive engagement in improving your English and will be happy to assist. Tip 10. Leveraging contextual cues for meaning extraction. One of the most effective strategies for understanding native speakers is to utilize contextual cues. During listening, the surrounding situation, the topic of discussion, and even the speaker's nonverbal communication can provide significant insights into the intended meaning. When encountering an unfamiliar word or phrase, attempt to infer its meaning based on the overall context of the conversation. For instance, if a conversation revolves around food and someone says, "I'm going to grab a bite," even if the precise meaning of bite is unclear, the context strongly suggests an intention to eat. Contextual cues are subtle indicators within the conversation that help you bridge gaps in understanding when individual words are missed. This technique is broadly applicable, extending beyond topics such as food or daily routines. For example, in a narrative where someone states, "The car broke down and we had to call for a tow," you can deduce that tow implies assistance in transporting the vehicle to a repair facility, even without a precise definition of the word. Over time, your cognitive ability to recognize and utilize these contextual clues will sharpen, significantly enhancing your comprehension of native speakers. Tip 11. Cultivating patience in the learning process. It is paramount to cultivate patience with yourself in the journey of understanding native speakers. Language acquisition is a gradual process, and adapting to varying speech speeds, accents, and articulation patterns requires time. Experiencing moments of incomplete comprehension is entirely normal. Do not allow this to undermine your motivation. Remember that fluency is not an instantaneous achievement. Each instance of listening to a native speaker contributes to your progress, even if the advancement is not immediately perceptible. The key lies in consistent practice and persistent effort. Gradually, your auditory system will begin to recognize the sounds and structural elements of spoken English, facilitating easier comprehension. Should feelings of frustration arise, take a respite and remind yourself of the progress you have already made. The objective is not perfection, but continuous improvement. Acknowledge and celebrate small victories, such as understanding a sentence that previously posed a challenge, or discerning a word that was once unclear. These incremental achievements accumulate, and before long, you will find yourself considerably more comfortable in comprehending native speakers. Tip 12. Engaging with structured listening comprehension exercises. If you seek a more formalized approach to enhancing your listening skills, listening comprehension exercises offer an excellent avenue. Numerous language learning applications, websites, and textbooks provide exercises where you listen to audio recordings and subsequently answer questions based on the content. These exercises are specifically designed to cultivate your ability to understand diverse forms of spoken English, ranging from casual conversations to formal lectures and news broadcasts. They guide you to focus on extracting specific information, a skill highly transferable to real-world interactions. A wide array of listening comprehension exercises is available across various difficulty levels. Begin with materials that align with your current proficiency and progressively challenge yourself with more complex exercises as your skills develop. These exercises will not only refine your ability to understand native speakers, but also train you to listen for crucial details, a vital aspect of effective real-world communication. Tip 13. Expanding your lexical repertoire. A broader vocabulary directly correlates with ease of understanding native speakers. If your familiarity is limited to basic vocabulary, keeping pace with rapid conversations, particularly those incorporating idiomatic expressions or slang, can be challenging. One effective strategy for vocabulary expansion is to learn new words daily. Compile a list of unfamiliar words encountered while listening to podcasts, watching television, or reading, and subsequently research their meanings. Prioritize learning words that are commonly used in everyday discourse. Over time, you will notice an increased ability to recognize words and phrases used by native speakers. Another valuable approach to vocabulary enhancement is the study of collocations, groups of words that frequently occur together. For instance, rather than simply learning the verb make, familiarize yourself with common phrases such as make a decision, make a mistake, or make an effort. This will provide a deeper understanding of how words function together in authentic conversational contexts. Tip 14. Developing familiarity with idiomatic expressions. Native speakers frequently employ idiomatic expressions in casual conversations. These expressions can be perplexing if you are not acquainted with them. An idiom is a phrase whose meaning cannot be deduced from the literal definitions of its constituent words. For example, "It's raining cats and dogs" does not literally imply a precipitation of animals, but signifies heavy rainfall. While initially challenging, understanding idiomatic expressions is integral to comprehending natural speech. To cultivate familiarity, begin by learning some of the most common idioms. This can be achieved by paying attention to unfamiliar expressions encountered during listening, researching their meanings, and practicing their use in your own speech. Gradually, you will find yourself recognizing idioms more readily, thereby enhancing your ability to understand native speakers. Tip 15. Cultivating active listening skills. It is crucial to practice active listening. Active listening entails fully engaging with and focusing on the speaker, rather than passively hearing their words. When you listen actively, you pay attention to the speaker's tone of voice, body language, and the overall context of the conversation, all of which contribute to a clearer understanding of the intended meaning. You can practice active listening by attempting to rephrase what the speaker has said in your own words. This technique, known as paraphrasing, is an excellent way to verify your comprehension. If you can accurately reiterate the speaker's message, it indicates effective understanding. Active listening also involves refraining from interrupting the speaker. Allow them to complete their thoughts before responding. This will enable you to capture all the nuances and facilitate a more comprehensive understanding of the complete message. Tip 16. Participating in conversation groups. One of the most effective ways to refine both your listening and speaking skills is by joining conversation groups. These groups provide a valuable platform for practicing real-world conversations with fellow learners and even native speakers. You can locate such groups online or in person, depending on your geographical location. Numerous applications, websites, and social media platforms host online conversation groups where you can practice English with individuals from around the globe. The significant advantage of these groups lies in the opportunity to listen to a variety of accents and practice speaking in a relaxed and non-judgmental environment. Furthermore, you will receive feedback from other participants, which can contribute to the improvement of both your listening and speaking abilities. When participating in conversation groups, consciously focus not only on your own speaking, but also on active listening. Ensure you understand the contributions of others before interjecting. This will help you become more comfortable with the pace of natural conversations and enhance your ability to comprehend native speakers. Tip 17. Focusing on stress and intonation patterns. In the English language, the stress and intonation of a sentence can significantly alter its meaning. Stress refers to the emphasis placed on particular syllables or words within a sentence, while intonation describes the rise and fall of the speaker's voice. These are integral components of spoken English and can sometimes make comprehension challenging. For example, consider the sentence, "I didn't say you stole my book." Depending on which word is emphasized, the meaning shifts. If the stress falls on I, it implies someone else might have said it. If the stress falls on you, it suggests someone else might have stolen the book. To improve your understanding of stress and intonation, actively listen to native speakers and observe which words they emphasize in their sentences. Notice the variations in their vocal pitch. You can also practice repeating sentences, consciously mimicking their stress and intonation patterns. This will deepen your understanding of the natural rhythm of spoken English and enhance your ability to follow conversations effectively. Tip 18. Utilizing transcripts for enhanced auditory processing. Occasionally, it can be beneficial to employ transcripts as an aid in understanding native speakers. Many podcasts, YouTube videos, and audio resources offer accompanying transcripts that display the exact words being spoken. You can use these transcripts to follow along while listening. A highly effective practice method involves initially listening to the conversation or audio, without the transcript, attempting to comprehend as much as possible. Following this initial listening, consult the transcript to identify any missed information. Subsequently, listen again while simultaneously reading the transcript. This process helps you establish a connection between the sounds you are hearing and the corresponding written words, thereby facilitating future comprehension of spoken English. As your comfort level increases, try listening to the audio again without the transcript to assess your progress. Over time, you will notice a reduced reliance on the transcript and an enhanced ability to understand through auditory input alone. Tip 19. Learning to recognize common filler words. Native speakers frequently incorporate filler words into their conversations. These are words or sounds that contribute little semantic meaning, but serve to fill pauses or provide the speaker with time to formulate their thoughts. Common English filler words include you know, and like. Initially, these fillers can be distracting or confusing, potentially making the conversation seem less coherent. However, it is important to recognize that fillers are a normal aspect of everyday speech and are often used to maintain the flow of conversation. Learning to identify them will enable you to focus more effectively on the substantive parts of the discourse. The key is to avoid becoming overly fixated on these fillers. Instead, concentrate on the main points the speaker is attempting to convey. Once you develop the ability to recognize filler words, you will be able to mentally filter them out and concentrate on the core content of the conversation. Tip 20. Engaging with TED Talks and educational videos. If you are seeking high-quality, clearly articulated English speech, TED Talks offer an excellent resource. These presentations feature speakers from diverse backgrounds discussing engaging and thought-provoking topics. The speakers in TED Talks generally exhibit clear articulation and a moderate pace of delivery, making them more accessible for English language learners. Similar to movies and television programs, you can initially engage with TED Talks using English subtitles. As your confidence grows, challenge yourself to watch without subtitles to further enhance your listening skills. Furthermore, TED Talks typically provide transcripts for their videos, allowing you to follow along and expand your vocabulary. The topics covered are often stimulating and informative, exposing you to a wide range of vocabulary. Regular engagement with TED Talks can significantly improve both your listening comprehension and your ability to understand complex ideas expressed in English. Tip 21. Focusing on practical, everyday vocabulary. When striving to understand native speakers, it is beneficial to prioritize practical vocabulary commonly used in everyday conversations. While acquiring advanced vocabulary is valuable, you will find that native speakers predominantly employ common words and phrases in their daily interactions. By concentrating on this practical lexicon, you will be able to comprehend a greater portion of real-world conversations. Begin by learning vocabulary related to daily activities such as food, travel, work, hobbies, and shopping. Practice incorporating these words into your own sentences to facilitate recognition when native speakers use them. This will enhance your comfort level in everyday interactions and make it easier to understand what others are saying. Tip 22. Exposing yourself to diverse audio formats. To further refine your understanding of native speakers, it is advisable to listen to a variety of audio formats. This can include news broadcasts, interviews, podcasts, radio shows, and even YouTube videos. Each of these formats exposes you to different speaking styles and vocabulary, contributing to a more versatile listening comprehension. For instance, news broadcasts tend to employ more formal language, while podcasts or YouTube videos may adopt a more casual and conversational tone. By engaging with a diverse range of audio sources, you will develop a more comprehensive understanding of how native speakers communicate across different contexts. Tip 23. Maintaining a listening journal. A helpful strategy for improving your listening skills is to keep a dedicated listening journal. In this journal, record new words, phrases, and expressions that you encounter while listening to native speakers. You can also note the context in which they were used and the speaker's manner of articulation. By systematically tracking the words and phrases that you find most challenging to understand, you can focus your subsequent learning efforts on these specific areas. Consider incorporating these new words and phrases into your own speech to practice and reinforce your learning. This practice will contribute to vocabulary expansion and a gradual improvement in your ability to understand native speakers. Tip 24. Leveraging technology and applications for listening enhancement. In today's digital age, an impressive array of applications and technological tools is available to support your English listening skill development. These resources offer the flexibility to practice listening anytime, anywhere, making it easier to integrate practice into your busy schedule. Some of the most effective applications for enhancing listening skills include language learning platforms such as Duolingo, Babbel, and Memrise, which often incorporate audio clips and quizzes to assess your comprehension of spoken English. Another valuable tool is Anki, a flashcard application that can aid in memorizing new words and phrases encountered in conversations or while watching videos. However, the utility extends beyond dedicated language applications. Numerous podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, offer a vast selection of English language content across various proficiency levels. Whether your interests lie in news, storytelling, interviews, or podcasts on specific subjects like science or business, these platforms provide endless opportunities to practice listening to native speakers. For more immersive practice, applications specifically designed for practicing English conversations, such as HelloTalk and Tandem connect you with native speakers who can assist you in honing your listening and speaking skills in real-time interactions. It's akin to having a language exchange partner readily available. The significant advantage of utilizing technology lies in its interactive and personalized nature. You can adjust audio speed, repeat challenging sections, or even slow down conversations to ensure thorough comprehension. It is an excellent means of tracking your progress and practicing at your own pace. Thank you profoundly for dedicating your time to the Easy English podcast today. Noor sincerely hopes that you found this episode both enjoyable and, more importantly, that the tips provided will prove beneficial as you continue to refine your listening skills. Remember that understanding native speakers is an entirely attainable goal. It hinges on consistent practice and extending patience and kindness to yourself throughout your learning journey. Every step, regardless of its perceived magnitude, represents forward progress. Celebrate your achievements at every opportunity, as each effort propels you closer to fluency. To briefly summarize, today we explored the reasons why comprehending native speakers can sometimes be challenging and shared practical strategies to facilitate this process. From immersing yourself in authentic conversations and employing shadowing techniques to segmenting speech and developing accent recognition, we have examined tools designed to set you on a path to success. The more you integrate these strategies into your routine, the more natural and confident your comprehension will become. Now, it is your turn to translate today's insights into action. Consider revisiting a favorite scene from a television show to focus on connected speech, or dedicate a few minutes to shadowing a beloved audio clip. Every instance of practice contributes to your progress, and consistency is your most valuable ally. If you found this episode helpful, Noor would be delighted if you could share it with another English language learner. Mutual support enriches the language learning experience, making it more rewarding and enjoyable. After all, collective learning strengthens us all. Furthermore, please do not hesitate to reach out. Noor would genuinely appreciate hearing from you. Which tips are you most eager to implement? Or perhaps you have your own effective listening strategies that you would like to share. Whether it's a message, a comment, or even a social media post, feel free to connect and share your thoughts. If you tag Noor, you can be sure of enthusiastic encouragement and celebration of your progress. Finally, remember to subscribe to the Easy English podcast to ensure you do not miss any future episodes. Next time, we will delve into another engaging topic designed to further enhance your English speaking skills and build even greater confidence. Noor is here, supporting you every step of the way, and looks forward to continuing this learning journey together. Thank you once again for your presence and your investment in your English language development. Noor is immensely proud of your dedication and the progress you are making. Believe in your abilities and find enjoyment in the process, because you are doing wonderfully. Until our next encounter, continue practicing, remain patient, and remember, you have the capacity to achieve your goals. Take care, dear learners, and Noor will see you in the next episode. Farewell for now.